Yo, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. 40 50 Social Club back at you this Valentine's Day weekend. And we couldn't help but think about the topic of dating, especially dating as you transition into your 40s and 50s. Things get a little tricky when you start dating post 40. And so we're going to talk about some of those things and we're going to hang out with Officially Fly Ageless to talk about some of these things that I think you're going to want to hear from us on 40 50 Social Club.
Let's stop pretending. Modern dating isn't romantic. It's strategic. It's defensive. It's cold. People are dating like they're preparing for battle, not building a future together. It's your boy RDP. Let's dig into it. So modern dating is basically a war zone, not because men and women are enemies, but because nobody trusts anybody anymore. People aren't dating to connect. They're dating to not get played. That's why everybody hides feelings, waits to text back, keeps options, pretends not to care, and acts like they're detached on purpose. It's not confidence, it's fear disguised as strategy. Women don't trust men because they've seen too many lies, too many games, too much inconsistency. Men don't trust women because they've seen too much manipulation, too much entitlement, and too much damn betrayal.
All right, y'all. Let's jump into it. Let's jump into it. Dude was dropping
Man,
some nuggets. Dude was
was
dropping
he?
some nuggets. I don't know how we don't just slow roll this thing. Let's slow walk this thing because it's a lot baked in here. So I want to get your thoughts as we talk about the dating game in our 40s and our 50s and some things that we wish we knew.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I want to lead with you a little bit, but I do want
Okay.
to give a couple of stats just so that we can frame up some things that we really are going to be talking about here. So I want to give just a couple stats, right? So the never married reality, I want everyone to understand this. There's about 51% of black men right now that have never been married at all,
Wow.
versus 36%.
51%.
Yeah, versus 36% of all other US men. Isn't that crazy? So when you think about it,
She.
the people out here, us men, we're not just divorcees. We're individuals out here with limited experience or limited marital experience that is as
Yeah.
well. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
take this one into consideration that loneliness in men over 50 carries the same mortality risk as
Yeah.
smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I
So,
never would have thought that.
yeah,
15
so I'm
cigarettes a day.
15
Yeah.
cigarettes a day.
Good
Lonely.
Lord.
Black adults that divorce significantly less likely to remarry than whites. We're talking like between 48% versus 60%.
Wow.
So, when listening to just a minute ago, listening to all of that, I'm just saying you can definitely feel the levity. I want to ask you, just about your feelings towards not only what you just heard, but kind of some of what comes along with, dating at over 40. Like he framed it up pretty well.
Yeah. I can't help but think about it. I think about how my uncles used to talk to me when I was coming up, and they would say, dating back then in these 90s, early 2000s was difficult then. So think about adding another 25 years on top of that is even more difficult now. And I can't help but agree with this whole mentality that was just shared in the B-roll that it is a game and it almost is like a war game in a lot of ways because people are just so scared of being vulnerable and I don't know, just removing the veil with their fear, and so I could see a lot of what he's talking about in terms of what it's like as you start to get into your 40s and 50s, really because in that age group that's when you start having some stuff. You start having some assets, you start having some resources, that have taken you a long time to really obtain. So you're fearful of losing it, especially if you've been through some type of divorce already or some friendships or some relationships that haven't worked out well for you. So I understand it. It starts to
Mm,
become, how do I make sure I don't walk into the pain or hardships that I've experienced previously? And I hate it because you bring your past trauma into your new situation,
mm,
and it really informs how you treat your partner. And you're looking for these subtle commonalities. You're looking for these resemblances of
mm,
what you previously experienced. And when you see it, you're like, oh, I'm going to respond
mm,
this way.
mm,
And it can be premature, and also very harmful. So I think it is a war game in a lot of ways, especially
mm.
dating now.
yeah.
And when you think about, I'll just say this one last piece, but when you start thinking about it too, we let so much of the external that isn't real into our reality. So what
Mm,
I mean by that is social media, things we see on TV, all around us. Inform how relationships should be, or how they tell us that relationships should be, but they lack really the reality of how relationships are. And
mm,
so I think
Yeah.
when you start
mm.
having those external pieces inform how you navigate your relationships, you never really get to be real with who you are. And I think that's part of the problem too.
It's really strange because I am still kind of actively dating. So to be able to kind of be in this space to talk about it and it forces me to think about it. But I I know for myself that sometimes communication is really a struggle, right?
Mm,
And it's because of
Sure.
all of the things. Like you're in a situation where you're playing that mind game of who is this person and what are they and what are they thinking? How are they thinking? Even at this age of 40 and 5 or 40 and 6 that I am, like you're still trying to navigate a space where it looks like you're playing a little chess piece of a game in the
Yeah.
beginning, because you're just trying to figure out if you can be
Jeez.
vulnerable, if you can
mm,
connect with somebody. But do I get a chance to be truthful and honest with you? Oh, and then a lot of things that I think of is this person really the person that they say that they are, even after I've done a little bit of vetting?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, is this person still in some ways, the person that they are saying that they are? What
mm.
context clues am I looking for, right? What are the flags here? Like, because there are flags. It's not just a situation of, it being you. Oh yeah, yeah,
Flag
that's
on the
good. That's
play.
good, girl. That's good, girl. You know what I'm saying? We can handle that. We'll get through
Yeah.
it. Nah, some of that stuff ain't a get through it, because
And get
we not
throughable.
together. We not
Right.
together. And I'm trying to feel you out. And, maybe that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel for me, it's kind of difficult trying sometimes to have a conversation if you are not in a situation of intent. That's number
Mm.
one.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll play it to I'll play it this way. Chris, what do you feel like when you think about, just what this guy has just said, and like the back and forth, that whole, tug
Yeah.
of war? What are your feelings towards that?
Yeah, man, and again, that's for those that don't know this. This August will be married 27 years. And that will mean and I will
Wow.
be 54 at the time, so it will mean, like, literally half of my life I would have been married by that point. So I listen to what I hear right here, and the first thing that happens to me, I get tired. I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, I just don't even understand how you even have the energy to be
Yeah.
playing that game back and forth like that, and I'm glad that I'm not in the game, but there is a part of me that just listens to this and wonders, like, how I would be had I been in the same situation, and again, I come back to knowing at some level I would be tired, like, really, really tired. When I hear what dude was having to say though on there about like there being that war game, one of the things that comes into my mind, like there's a war game going on, and this gets at what we were saying a little bit earlier, like the game has changed for sure, like
Mhm.
over the years, but at the same time, so have the
Yeah.
players of that game. They've also changed, right? So this gets at the trauma and all the things that y'all were just talking about that you carry as you're kind of going through until you're battling with somebody else about all those things. What we also know though is men, especially as black men, what was the stat? It was something like by age 65, there are only 67 black men out there for every 100 black women.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
scarce in that way. And it gets back to when we did what was it, Passport Bros. episode a little bit ago, and Jay, you were talking about what it's like down in Atlanta, which is what a lot
Yeah.
of folks know this, that imbalance that's there. There's so few men for so many women. So guys, like there's a lot of leverage that we have in this whole thing. Like we are scarce, we are that wanted commodity in that sense. And again, as I was listening to all this and thinking about what happens when you do have that kind of leverage, you still got to be responsible with that leverage and make sure you come correct. And I think like in talking to friends and talking to people that I know who are still in the dating scene like that, that's one of the things that I see them struggling with internally with themselves. It's like, I know that I'm a commodity out here and I could do things a certain way, but I've been doing it that way for so long and it hasn't borne the fruit that I wanted to bear. So maybe I need to start doing something different. And to me, so much of that is, again, having that leverage, understanding, but still having to come correct. So what does that look like? That gets into not playing all those games. You know, like ones and question, we
Hmm.
Yeah.
talk about that kind of vulnerability that's there, like having the ability to do that, knowing when the right time to do it is there. I talk about like honoring the connection that you share with your partner truthfully, and more than that, also giving your partner like the space to breathe and to be whoever they are. Like I think that's really, really important. That's one of the things that I would say being married as long as I have, had we not had that, that kind of thing definitely wouldn't happen for us at all. I'd say also
Yeah.
like finding ways to care about your partner while also caring enough to be able to challenge them in the way that they need to be challenged. But I would say you
Mhm.
challenge them, but you also don't expect change. And there's a lot that goes into that. You can challenge somebody because you want them to be better. But again, it's not expecting change. What you're doing, instead of expecting it because there's judgment in that, it's inviting someone into that conversation about how to be better and hoping that they accept that invitation. So again, as I was listening to all that, it took me to a space. I started thinking about that leverage that I know we have, and then thinking about how we wield that leverage in a way that actually winds up being better for everybody.
It looks like
Yeah.
there's so much competition as well. Like
Mm,
to what he was saying that like when you're out here, there are so many different elements. And I'm gonna tell y'all, it's so many different elements. Like people have their ideologies, they have their
mm,
assumptions. And a lot of people lead with those. Even us,
mm,
we're leading with the assumptions. Some of the situations like, oh, she want me to take care of the finances. Even on this
mm,
date, she want me to take care of all of this and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And for some of us that may, especially in our 40s and 50s,
mm,
we may come from a space that allows us to understand, just being a gentleman, if we want to call it, having that gentleman mentality and doing certain things like that. But there's a lot of guys out here going Dutch on dates. There's a lot of
mm,
women out here that are paying for dates. Like there's so many different elements to how dating is going on right now. Some
mm,
dates look like the coffee shop. Some dates look like going to the music store. Some
mm.
dates, look like, some
Yeah.
typical, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of it, from what I'm seeing is a mixed bag. And it comes with a lot of different things. It comes with a lot of different strings of emotions. It
Mm,
comes with a lot of different, trying to politic around communication, we've done
Yeah.
things in our lives. A lot of people don't feel good, about being transparent and
mm,
vulnerable.
Yeah.
They don't want
mm,
you to know that they've done something like A or B. And so they really trying to hold on to that thing and not really tell you. And they will sacrifice things in the beginning of a relationship or things inside of the relationship to have you or to see
mm,
where it's going before they even get to this part that maybe we should have discussed at the beginning.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
You
mm.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So like it's a
Yeah.
lot of different, even right now, it's just a lot, it's a lot of different people trying to juggle. Who are you? Are you real?
Mm,
Yeah.
We coming from we
Yeah.
coming out of era of, catfishing. Like we
mm.
still in that. People still getting
Yeah.
catfished.
Wow.
So
Sure.
why at 40 and 50, after I've, probably been in several relationships, maybe divorced,
Mm,
maybe I
Yeah.
got 5 kids and I'm going through all this. Why do I want to deal? I mean, look,
mm.
That's
look
right.
at it. You got to come
That's
in
right.
understanding. I got 5 kids.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
That's
here,
right.
well, I want to ask you some questions based on what you're saying here, because again, it's just got my mind going a whole lot of different directions. And I think about something that you were talking about earlier, and how like we are. I'm not doing it, but those who are out there dating right now, like you all are vetting the people that you're dating. one of those things that I think about when it comes to vetting, unless you get into like FBI records and all that, is I'm looking at social media. Like obviously you're gonna go there and start checking things out. But kind of what we're talking about here, that can be so curated that you don't know that that's what you can really trust. So I guess I'm asking the question, like, at what point do you get beyond the facade of what you see on social media into something deeper? Like, at what point do you feel like you can be vulnerable enough in that new relationship to kind of get behind that wall?
It's tough. It's tough. I think you got so I'm gonna be honest with you. Probably gonna take some conversations, some
Mm,
real in front of the person conversations, not just FaceTime or Google Meet or whatever like
mm,
that. It's gonna take some conversations because you want to look at the body language, you want to hear the person, you want to see the person, you want to be able to interact with them in what I feel is like an intimate space, right?
mm,
So you're able to see the reality. People are looking at reality now. Like,
mm,
are you real? And what is real to you, right? So I think to what you're asking here, you're not gonna make an immediate judgment. It's
mm,
gonna take time, but
mm,
you just gotta kind of try to fill it out in a way in which you are being intentional about asking for the things that you need, right?
mm,
And I
mm,
think at 46, right now, I'm more intentional about asking about those things.
mm,
Because
Mhm.
we all at this point in time have our comforts too.
mm,
And
Yeah.
that means that this person might have their comfort as well.
mm,
So where comforts can look like, what I call deal breakers, for some of us, it's not. It's just being able to lift a little bit off of, that trauma or wherever that people have possibly had.
mm.
So
Mhm,
it
mhm.
takes a little bit. It takes a little conversation. It takes a little, being a little bit intentional about getting that conversation going to see,
Mm.
who a person is.
Wow.
Man,
Yeah,
that's so
Jay,
good.
what you
That's so
think?
good. I wanna put a pin in that because I know officially ageless has some things that are also still a part of this B-roll that we gotta add on this.
Yes.
But I'm gonna come back to that question because I really wanna jump in on it. So let's
Mm,
check this other half of this out.
So instead of love, we have paranoia. People are doing background checks on each other intentions like they're the FBI. We're not dating people. We're dating their trauma, their exes, their trust issues, and their bad experiences. Everybody's been hurt. Nobody's healed. So now we're all punishing the next person for what the last person did. Men are scared of getting used. Women are scared of getting abandoned. So both sides play offense and defense at the same damn time. That's why dating feels like war. Fake loyalty, hidden agendas, emotional manipulation, performance instead of honesty, sex without commitments, and DMs full of backup plans. People don't want love, they want leverage. Love used to be about connection. Now it's about control. Who cares less? Who needs less? Who can walk away first? And that's why everything feels toxic. You can't build anything real in a generation that's terrified to be vulnerable. People are lonely, but act like they don't need anyone. People want love, but play like they don't care. People crave loyalty, but keep backups just in case. This isn't dating, it's emotional warfare disguised as romance. And the saddest part, everyone talks like they're heartless, but nobody actually is. We're just broken, traumatized, guarded, and pretending to be strong.
Man, I can't help but think about what was shared in this last part of this B-roll and what officially Aegis had to say. He talked about trauma. He talked about unresolved trauma. He talked about fear. And I couldn't help but think about a couple of things. I couldn't help but think about there's different stages of dating.
mm,
So there's dating, which, Valentine's Day, you go out with your boo, this and that. If y'all really each other boo and y'all really want to do something serious, then the Valentine's Day date is more meaningful than if there's just somebody you just really,
mm,
really met and y'all just going out. So let's say you didn't had a couple of dates, you can get the Valentine's Day date. That's cool. The dating is having these iterations, is having these different levels to it. Because even though you've been married 27 years, CJ, you still dating,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
There's
Sure.
still there's still things you're learning about your partner. There's still intentionality. There's still a lot of different layers that you're doing. So I don't think we ever
Yeah.
stop experiencing dating. It's just I think some of the early phases of it, especially now, have a lot more risk, a lot
mm,
more ambiguity, a lot more uh, scrutiny,
mm,
and a lot less tolerance, a lot less patience because we've been hurt. We're bringing our unresolved trauma into it, and we're trying to make sure so much that we don't get hurt again.
Hmm.
But then we just find ourselves getting hurt again because we've never spent the time to heal and put time, effort, and energy into resolving our unresolved trauma. That's my
mhm,
personal opinion. And so it's like you
mm,
just continue to be on this hamster wheel of dating and recycling the same person or the same unresolved trauma relationship to relationship. And
mm,
then you start to get good at it. You
Mm,
start to learn how to
mm,
avoid the things that you are fearful of. I'm not going to
mm,
let him or her see that. So I'm going to push that to the side and I'm going to make sure I look a certain way or present myself a certain way. It may
mm,
take 30, 40 days for you to get to the point where you can see that side that the person is fearful of and they've been
mm,
hiding.
mhm,
And by then, your heart is in it, right? So now you like, dang, I wish I'd have known what I know now 30, 40 dates ago. But because this person has hit it, you don't get to experience it or really see it till it's revealed. And now you
yeah,
in it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so I feel like it's like all these different layers that come with dating now that make people a lot more suspicious and a lot more careful and then also care less.
mm,
You know, it's like if I can piecemeal a couple of people together, well, this person satisfies this piece of me, this other person satisfies this piece, and this other person satisfies this piece. If I could put them all together to make one person,
mm,
that would satisfy me, but then everybody is given a fraction of themselves. So
yeah,
if the people I'm experiencing, I'm giving them a fraction of me, how many fractions of them are they giving me?
mm, mm,
that's an unfortunate way to think too. Like that
Yeah,
mentality right there is unfortunate to think. Like I
yeah,
just to go back a little bit where you were and to give just a piece of personal here. When I think about my partners and I think about, just going back into a little bit of their history and not bringing it out, but be at a very high level, I think about the stories that they tell me about the men that they were with and how they were with them, conversations that they were having, how endearing at those points in times it was, and then to totally look at the manipulation that happened and what, things that they were saying, like, I don't really think that this person loved me at all. I don't really think that they cared or valued me at all. Right. And things of that nature. And then you look at them coming out of that one relationship into another relationship that looks just the same,
mm,
into another relationship that looks just the same, and you're thinking to yourself, what guardrails am I putting up? How am I protecting my heart? Well, I
mm,
think a lot of it, including myself, when I think about me going in and being into a relationship with my oldest son's mom, to
mhm,
coming out of that and really not even coming out of that, but going from that into getting married the first time,
mm,
coming out of that, waiting a little bit and playing around and then going and getting married again.
mm,
Like really what it is the same thing that this man is saying. And that is it's trauma built over after trauma. And you keep taking it and pushing it down the line and not really getting any help. And then
mm,
all of a sudden you think to yourself when you get 40 years of age, you're like, shit, I need to calm down and get myself together.
mhm.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
for some of us, we trying to get it together at this 40,
mm,
40
yeah,
years of age. For others, we're still trying to figure it out. And we may still be back there in our trauma. We may not know how to get out of that trauma because a lot of us are not. A lot of us are still in that trauma playing these games that he's talking about
mm, mm, mm,
yeah,
and not really being concrete on our intentions and what we need, our boundaries and stuff of that nature, because we don't know. We still caught up in this. We
mm,
not comprehending, and that's what we need to do. We need to in some way see if we can stop and comprehend what's going on.
mm.
What
Wow.
yeah.
is what is my communication style?
Yeah.
How do I feel
Mm,
about her saying things like this? How do
Huh.
I feel about him saying things like this? Can I deal with you having kids?
yeah,
That's real.
Do I want to date you exclusively? Like, I
Mm,
mean, these are all topics that are real. And guess what? We are 40 and 50 years old on these dating apps
mm,
because guess they came with us. We was 20 and 30 years old when we were creating them. For
yeah,
most of us, that's all that we know right now.
mm.
yeah. and it's
Mm,
become a swipe mentality, like swipe, 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 oh, swipe, 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 like, and then all of
mm,
a sudden it's like a video game,
mm,
right? And then you just kind of betting like a slot machine that this person may have what you're looking for. And
mm,
then you finally go on the date and you realize, well, they only got like 6 out of 10. So I'm gonna swipe left after we went on this date and I'm gonna keep going back to my app. It's too
mm,
many options and it's too convenient. I mean, it's like I remember being before I got with my wife now, like being in the dating game. It's like how many apps are there? There's
mm.
Black People Meet, and there's Match.com, and there's hisandher.com, and them. It's all these
Facebook
different
dating
Facebook dating. I
and
mean, it's everywhere. So
Wow.
it's like, what? Everything. It's like if you look halfway decent, you got a great chance.
Wow.
So it just makes it so much more interesting. The game has changed in so many ways to the
Yeah.
point where it makes it very transactional, it makes it very superficial,
Yeah.
and it makes it even more scary.
Well, let me ask you something then too. And again, I wish I could show y'all inside my mind to see how much is blown by hearing all this stuff. Like I'm hearing some names of some dating apps. I didn't even know all that stuff existed. You know what I mean? Like not like that because it's been so long. But one of the things I'm struck by, Jay, with what you just said, and again, being a part of your journey, you and Sheeta over these last few years and how things have gone, as you were going through, and Quest, you can hop on this too, as you all were going through this, getting into your 30s, into your 40s, and eventually for Jay getting to 50, at what point did you decide that you were looking for something different? Because whatever it was that you were looking for
Mhm.
until you and Cheetah got together, that was one thing, and then you got into something else. Because
Mhm.
that part of what comes to mind to me, you're talking about all these apps and the transactional nature of it all. That's obviously changing what people go into it for. Like, are you going into it for sex? You're going into it for companionship? You're going into it for real love? You're going into it for, to avoid
Yeah.
loneliness? Like, whatever it is, people have different things. So just for your journey, I'm interested in how and like why you got to that point where I was looking for this, realized that wasn't working for me, and then suddenly I woke up a different day looking for that.
I think it was early 50s. I started experiencing it probably late 30s, but definitely early 50s. And then I started to recognize how much dating was consuming my life.
Mm,
mm,
If it
mm,
was not digitally, it was personally, right?
mm,
Relationally. I'm thinking about how much time I was spending in my spare time just
mm,
scrolling through apps,
mm,
trying to connect with people or going out and just trying to meet people. And then I'm like, I keep meeting the same kind of people. So
mm,
that must mean something. What is that? I don't really understand what that is. Or you try to
mm,
put yourself in different environments and you still keep meeting the same type of people that are hollow on the inside. So
mm,
I
mm.
started just reaching the point where I was like, this ain't working for me.
mm,
And
mm.
it's expensive, to be honest, not just
Mhm.
financially, but it's expensive energy because
Yes.
Yeah.
you
Mm,
giving
mm,
energy,
mm,
you
mm.
sharing it with these people, and some people like to just suck up your energies. By the time you
Mm,
done, you feel so exhausted, and then you start doing this multiple times over the course of a week or a month. You start looking at your bank account. You start looking at how you start feeling used. Are people
mm,
taking advantage of me? I didn't pay for this dinner and that dinner, and they want to go here and go there. It's like,
mm.
man. So I think I just
Yeah.
started taking inventory on all the energy and resources that were being exhausted, and I still was
Mm,
being unfulfilled. And I'm
wow.
like, there has to be something better than this because this formula for me is not working. So I
Mm,
was like, I need to bounce. I need to leave ATL. And I came to Chicago with a different mindset. I'm going
Mm.
to find something that's meaningful and fulfilling
mm,
and
Yeah.
not be so focused on spreading myself so thin that nobody really gets to know who I am and vice versa.
yeah.
Chris, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people want the same things, but don't know
Mm,
how to express that to be able
Yeah.
to foundationally get your dating going, right?
mm,
Like a lot of times what we see is like from what Jay was saying is you're on the dating apps or whatever like that. You come out of that dating app into a real life scenario, and that's when things quote unquote get weird. And
mm,
why, right? Like that is some of the challenges that come along with it. the facade around it is that everyone can create who they are going to be when you're behind these dating apps. But when you get in front of that person, again, going back to the whole situation about transparency, that's why transparency and vulnerability right now in dating is so big, because people are so fake out here. They're
Mm,
saying one thing and they're not. They're saying something. They're saying they stand for this and they don't.
mm,
And when you start not only getting the conversations, but you can do minor things to challenge a point of view or something, and someone can, come out and totally be the opposite side of what they said that they were in the beginning.
mm,
Like it is,
Yeah.
it's tough to get it started, but I know for me, what I had to do was breathe that intentionality for what I needed for my life and
mm.
try to
Yeah.
see if that is what I was gonna is this what I'm gonna get when I'm dating? Like, and
Mm,
I really believe in having those conversations before we even go on this date. I got this technology. I
mm,
feel like texting and DMing a little bit with intentionality is something that you should try to do. But I also think that you need to get out there and go on the date. And you need to get out
Yeah.
there and have conversations that
mm,
are about everything other than sex and
mm,
other than, the romance of
Yeah.
things. Try to find what is going to fulfill you. Like you were saying, like I got three people, here to fulfill one situation. Like, no, I might have, three people. I might have one person, but they're fulfilling everything
yeah,
that I
Everything.
need them to fulfill, not individually,
yeah,
but, holistically. That, two, three of these people might not turn out to be people that I am dating. May only be one, but guess what? I still got three more friends now. Why? I
mm,
took time to find out who they were. I took time
Yeah.
to understand who they was. And a lot of people, we not doing that shit. I'm just plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Man.
A lot of people ain't doing that shit even now. Even right now, they're
yeah,
not doing that. They're still faking the funk, a lot of people, and it's hurting because a lot of people just want to be real. We're out here just trying to
mm,
date to be real. And
mm,
that's tough when you have to say something
That's
like that.
tough.
I
yeah,
got an issue with dating because people out here are fake as fuck.
mm.
Mhm.
Man. Well, and again, I'm just struck
Mhm.
by listening to all this, and I appreciate you all taking me on your own journeys in that. Like I get to live a little bit vicariously through you. And again, one of the things I'm struck by, gets at Jay, what you were talking about, Quest, what you were talking about, and what you all are talking about, like the general conversation that cats are having about all this right now. You find yourself unfulfilled with what you're attracting. You
Mm,
find yourself eventually unfulfilled with what you have been attracting. What I'm saying in that is that it is about your own energy, right? And that has to be a conscious decision. You look at what's
Yeah.
out there, and instead of looking at what's out there saying, like, wow, like, what's wrong with them? Why is that what the scene looks like? The moment you decide to do some of that inner work and really start working on your own energy, the next thing you know, you look up and you've attracted something completely different, which is probably more aligned with what you wanted because you're looking for alignment at that point. And when you think the
Yeah.
older you get, like again, I was 27 when I got married. We started dating a few years before that. And I didn't know myself well enough. I don't think Janine knew herself well enough at that point. When I talk to people who get together later than that in their 30s, people who get together in their 40s, people who get together in their 50s, you've had longer time on your own to kind of figure out things about you, both the good and the bad. The bad stuff that you're
Yeah.
comfortable with, like that is that bad energy that winds up
mm,
attracting something to you that you wind up getting frustrated with. So by the time you get to 40, by the time you get to 50, all of us are carrying something. Whether you're married or not,
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
All of us are carrying
Yeah.
something. So it's not whether or not you have baggage, it's about whether or not you started to unpack or you've already unpacked what that baggage is.
That's
And it's
good.
something
That's
about
good.
that on the other end that seems to then attract from people what it is that they really want. So again, as I was listening
Yeah.
to you all, and I know the two of you all enough to have seen some of that change, that metamorphosis in you all over the years, over the time, and to see where you were to where you are, so much of it is doing that personal work that allows you then to
Mhm.
attract to yourself an energy
That's
that
right.
meshes more well with who you are.
I think that's so good, and I think if I start looking back at my life when I reached that point in my early 40s, that's when I really started doing the introspective work on myself because
Mhm, mhm.
I was seeking a higher frequency for myself so that
Mm,
I could
mm,
meet somebody that's at the frequency I wanted to be at. And
Yeah.
so it was like doing those things, working out, meditation, journaling, like chilling on drinking, things like that. That's when that
Mm,
started happening for me. And I think that started really changing the people I was bringing into my life. So I think to your
mm,
point, there is a direct correlation. I think we don't reach a point where we want to start doing that work until we're in our 40s and our
mm,
50s,
mm.
Mhm, mhm.
because we
Yeah.
spend the first half of our life just enjoying life in ways that we always thought we should, and then we reach a age where it's like, dang, this ain't what I thought it was supposed to be. So
Mhm.
maybe that means it's something with me.
Yeah. Well, there's
And so I
something
Yeah,
think
that you
that's
said.
important.
I was gonna say there's something
yeah.
that I remember you saying some episodes ago, and again, that's coming to me right now. And if you wanted to
Mm,
jump in again about this, that'd be fine. But I remember you saying, until you got to sometime in your 40s, it's like, hey, you're going along. People like, wow, like why ain't he married? Like that kind of thing. That
mhm.
went from
Yeah,
you having some mystery to you that was attracting some people to you to a thing where it's kind of like, man, what's wrong with Cat? Like, how
yeah,
is he at this age already? He ain't married. He ain't never had none of this. People start looking at you differently. And
that's
again,
right.
Wild.
knowing you and seeing it and hearing what I just heard right here just takes me back to you making that statement to us. And I feel like for you in your own life, that was the point where you looked at it like, damn, this isn't what I always
Hmm.
thought it was. It's something different now. It's seen differently. I need to put myself in a different space.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Mm,
Mhm,
That's real.
mhm,
And I think too, one last thing I'll say is you start recognizing reading and things that you see, people tend to typically live longer when they
mm,
have a partner,
mm, mm,
mm.
mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's a partner, you know what I mean? Somebody that you could really walk with through life. And I think that says something. I look
Mm,
at people that I know that have partners in their life, they just look a little bit younger.
mm.
They have a different step to them than those that don't. So I
Wow.
think there's something there as well that needs to be taken for granted. I feel for that 51%
Mm,
Mm,
that are single and lonely and not willing to think about what else could be.
mm,
But that's just my perspective. I've been completely different. I haven't spent most of my life being married, so it could be some men out there or women out there that have spent their whole lives being married, and they like, I want to be free
yeah.
and do their thing, and I think that's
Yeah. That's
wonderful.
out there. That's definitely out there.
Yeah,
It's perspective in a way in which leads down the path of understanding where you are in your journey here, right? Because
Mm,
yeah,
like you were just saying, Jay, like you got to a point where you were like, okay, this is what I need, and therefore this is what I want to attract.
mm,
I think for a lot of people, even right now, it's the point that you just made, and that is you got to know you, because until
mm,
that point, you don't even know what you want to attract. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? You listen to so many different
yeah,
things. We're listening to the high value. We're listening to people tell us about transaction. We're listening to people telling us about equality and things of that nature. But where does this all align for you in your life and with the person that you're trying to be involved with?
mm,
And the next point, are you having that conversation? Are you
right,
asking those questions? Are you,
right,
like a lot of people really ain't doing that work. I want
mm,
y'all to understand it. There's
yeah,
still a lot of assumption going on. There's still a
yeah,
lot of things that, you would think I did in my 20s and 30s. I'm not doing no more in my 40s. That shit's still going on too in
mm,
the 40s
sure,
and 50s. And I think that's what makes it hard dating now in the 40s and 50s too, because there's still some of that mentality that is going on, because it's hard to break from it, right? It's hard
yeah,
to adjust from that, to get from that, right?
yeah,
So it's what I guess another thing that I'm trying to say is you have to honestly be ready to date.
mm,
Like you were
mm,
talking about money earlier. Like, what do you want to attract? Because in some ways that might still look like something like
mm,
it may not be the aesthetic that's the Waldorf and Christian Dior and everything like that, but that don't mean that she don't like to go, somewhere or do something
right,
that is
that's right,
it kind of takes a little change. So are you able to do that?
mm,
right,
Yeah, right. And vice versa,
right,
because hey, it should be some reciprocity here too, right? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
It should
right.
be some times where you, hey, girl, I like that little Gucci belt or whatever you like,
Right.
whatever it is you like. I like to go to the Maldives. And I don't want to pay for it, right? But
Uh,
are you able to have that conversation? And a
mm,
lot of
Right.
us are not. A lot of us are still struggling with the communication, struggling with the transparency, and just being able to say yes and no about a
mm,
certain thing. We're struggling with this still at 40 and 50, and that is the part that is diabolical in some ways.
mm,
That's good, man. That's good. Well, I think,
mm,
we want to give a shout out to Officially Ageless for sharing that
mm,
B-roll. That was super dope. Thank you for allowing us to talk about this topic today. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all, and love on the person that you with. Dig into that person, get to know them, date them like this the last person you gonna date and see where it go. You ain't got nothing to lose. And if it don't work out, then hey, you to keep moving. That's my
mm.
thought. But hey, here we are on 4050 Social Club. We look forward to seeing y'all again. And until then, be good to each other. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.